for how to make an urban development policy real, and you are a premier developer, what impediments are there between you and developing on the other side of Central Park, and what incentives would you require to make that happen?
Well, thank you, Jesse. First of all, it's a great honor to be here with you tonight. I think maybe before we discuss impediments, I do want to say this, and I think this is very positive. It really is happening uptown. It's starting to happen. Percy, who's been a friend of mine for a long time, has done such an incredible job, both physically with money and also psychologically, on really showing what can be done. And I just want to thank Percy, because he was borough president. He was borough president when I was doing the Commodore Hotel, and I couldn't have done it without him. And he's just a great guy, and I love to see you, Percy. You look better than you did 20 years ago, I have to tell you. So you're doing something right. But it is happening in Uptown. And I have friends that, in this particular case, one white, looking for property in Harlem, wants to develop property in Harlem. And this is something that wasn't happening 3 years ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago. It just wasn't happening. And, you know, sadly, one of the reasons is that it's very, very difficult to get land in other locations of Manhattan. And that's a sad reason to necessarily be going to other locations.
You said land is an impediment on the uptown side of the side.
No, land is very hard to get anywhere in Manhattan right now. And people are going to Harlem because they really see it as a new place to invest. I'm talking about the real estate developers, and some very good ones in New York. And I think you're going to see a big renaissance. I think you're already seeing it. And it really was led to a large extent with what some of the work that Percy and others have done. But I think you're going to see a renaissance, and it has begun, but it's continuing in Harlem and in the uptown, as you call it.
The reason I press this case is that in spite of the accolades that Percy Sutton deserves after being borough president 12 years, he had to go to 63 banks to borrow the money to buy WLIB. This question of capital. John Johnson said to me 2 days ago, the esteemed publisher of Johnson Publishing Company, for 20 years he could not borrow any money. He had to use subscriptions to sustain the financing. So a fundamental question, while there may be some purses here and there, what is needed to break the impeding forces to pursue greenlining the red line zone on the uptown side of Central Park?
Well, I just want to preface the 63 banks. I mean, I wouldn't say the banks are exactly in love with me after what I did to those suckers. I mean, you know. So, Percy, I think that you're probably doing better. I think I might have had to go to more than 63 banks. There are things that can be done, and some are being done, I don't think to the same extent. If you look, you know, I have an honor of having Jesse at 40 Wall Street. We call it the Trump Building at 40. This is now a 72-story building right on Wall Street, right opposite the New York Stock Exchange. And he's a very tough negotiator when it came to rent, I want to tell you that. This man is definitely setting a new standard for paying low rent. But it's an honor. This is the toughest negotiator I've ever had.
It's called mixed rent.
That's right. I said, come on, Jess, you got to give me something. He said, nothing. I said, all right, what the hell. So he's tough. But the fact is that that building was built with incentives, because the downtown, as we call it, the downtown market in Lower Manhattan has been given massive tax incentives for regrowth and rebirth, and it's really paid off. I mean, tremendous amounts of construction are taking place. I think that one of the things that you could do is go to the city and ask, and I really think it's important, ask for massive tax abatements for things that would be built in certain sections where you'd most like to see developed. And I will tell you that residential abatements and commercial abatements have a tremendous impact on construction. And I mean, I know all the taxes, and I know all the tax rules, laws, and changes, and I will say that the 421 program is the same program on 5th Avenue and 57th Street, which is Trump Tower, as it is for Harlem. And Harlem needs more help than does 5th Avenue and 57th Street. So I think one of the things, and really the biggest thing in terms of an economic incentive, is real estate tax abatements at a large level and larger than other sections of the city.
Dahl, you are a manager of money, have lots of, well, these are your roots. What's your